place to.
Yeah, so we didn't do it.
With that, I would like to turn it over to Mike Belduzzi, the Senior Vice President for Nuclear Operations.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Tonight, we'll be updating you on the actions that we have taken and continue to take in response to the children work environment letter that the NRC issued us in March of this year for the Watts Bar plant. We'll also discuss insights and outcomes that were based upon a number of reviews and analyses that we have done of our actions, as well as the progress on the outcomes that we're expecting. Chilled work environment letter signifies that TVA, as you said, is not meeting the NRC's expectations for maintaining health and nuclear safety conscious work at Watts Bar, nor does it meet our own expectations. We, the leadership team at the site, are responsible for this condition. A team of independent consultants recently we enlisted to inform ourselves with regard to our progress concluded that our current state still does not meet these expectations. And as you had stated in your opening, most recently the NRC inspection activity of recent month concluded similarly. What that means is that despite the progress that we are making in some areas to improve, we have a lot of work to do still. And you know, in order to create an environment where our employees feel that they can raise concerns without any issue pertaining to retaliation, you know, that we recognize that progress in that area is going to take some time. We also acknowledge that, you know, we need to maintain a broad focus and above and beyond all work groups to ensure that we're looking at precursors and stressors to make sure that we don't do any inactivity or inattention, allow our environment to degrade to a chilled work environment in other work groups. So we can be focused on more than just operations. This evening you're going to hear about how we're working to promote a healthy, safety conscious work environment, how we're evaluating our progress, and how we're learning and modifying our approach based on workforce feedback and feedback from other sources as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We'll slide forward, please. Slide forward. Good evening. I'm Paul Simmons, Site Vice President at Watts Bar. On March 23rd, 2016, TVA received a chilled work environment letter. That letter specifically stated, a chilled work environment exists in our operations department because of the perception that operators are not free to raise safety concerns using all available avenues without fear of retaliation. No serious safety violations or instances involving significant plant safety issues were identified. The chilled work environment letter ensures Watts Bar has a clear understanding of the scope of concerns that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has and communicates specific requests and expectations for TVA's response. Before we move forward, you're going to hear tonight in this discussion, I personally acknowledge that the chilled work environment existed in the Operations Department of Watts Bar, and that I and the Watts Bar senior leadership team, many of who are here tonight, are accountable for taking aggressive actions to improve the work environment in a thoughtful and sustainable manner. Following the receipt of the chilled work environment letter, TVA developed an action plan that included immediate and near-term actions to begin to address the work environment at Watts Bar. That plan was based on our known challenges as well as operating experience based on other nuclear facilities that had faced similar chilled work environment challenges. Upon completion of our root cause analysis in late May 2016, a number of additional actions were developed to address specific root cause and contributing causes that were identified. These actions included, but were not limited to, reinforcing the roles and responsibilities of the main control room staff and our outage control center.
Excuse me, Paul,
One thing we've done from the operations standpoint to try to improve this is, as the shift managers, we're making sure that we talk to our folks and make sure that they understand what the roles and responsibilities of the outage control center staff are, that their point is to make sure that they help us figure out what our scheduled activities are, what the next thing coming is, so we can get everybody organized. They also provide input to me as the shift manager to help me make the ultimate decision as to what we're going to do with the plan, and where we're going to put the plan when we need to put it where it needs to go.
Additionally, enhancing our nuclear safety culture monitoring panel to include our maintenance craft and our non-licensed operators, and conducting seminars to improve the understanding of our corrective action program and the work control processes in correcting our issues. Sean Connors, our plant manager, shared lessons at the National Association of the Employee Concerns Professionals in a conference in September of this year.
Paul, if I may, I did attend and spoke at that conference in Annapolis, discussed the background of the events, the leadership ownership, the actions taken prior to and after the issuance of the chilled work environment letter. In fact, there was over 100 employee professionals that had attended that. Lisa Marie was one of those, and several other attendees from the NRC as well. The information shared was well received, and the information afterwards that I shared with some of the professionals was enlightening.
We recognized that we would need to check and adjust our actions to ensure that we were actively and effectively addressing the identified causes and improving the respectful work environment at Watts Bar. In August of this year, Watts Bar tasked Condra and Elsie, an independent consulting firm, with providing an assessment of the current status of the Watts Bar work environment. The purpose of the assessment was to provide insights into the current work environment affecting its actions and where additional efforts and actions should be focused. The assessment of the Watts Bar work environment, the team conducted a series of interviews. In total, the team had conversations with 115 individuals representing slightly greater than 10% of the Watts Bar population across all organizational levels and functional groups. The interviews and focus groups included directors, managers, superintendents, as well as licensed operators, technicians, craft, and non-licensed operators from functional groups such as operations, maintenance, chemistry, radiation protection, and others. Based on the results of the assessment, the team concluded that safety-conscious work environment precursors and concerns were found in other functional areas beyond just operations. Additionally, the assessment team identified 3 key themes and areas of focus that Sean will speak to later in the presentation around respectful work environment, leadership safety, values and actions, and effective safety communications. In addition to the independent assessment of Watts Bar safety conscious work environment, we also had Condra Elsie team perform an independent and critical assessment of the root cause in the chilled work environment response, as well as our April response to the NRC. With respect to the root cause, the assessment team recommended that we reevaluate the causal analysis using a different analysis method to ensure organizational drivers were fully understood. The original root cause team was reassembled using an industry-recognized taproot methodology and completed the reanalysis in late October. The root cause team concluded that the original root causes identified remained valid and that no new root causes were identified. The team did identify additional corrective actions that have been included in our next step actions that will be discussed shortly. The review of the April 22nd chilled work environment letter response concluded that additional actions were warranted. These actions have also been included in our near-term actions and include supplementing the chilled work environment letter, which is due December 2016. We'll also be conducting an independent safety culture survey the first quarter of 2017, and then re-examining the effectiveness of actions taken in response to the 2009 confirmatory order. I'd like to now turn it over to Sean Connors, who will speak to the themes and focus areas and next steps to ensure our respectful work environment at Watts Bar is achieved.
Thank you, Paul. We'll turn to page 8, slide 8, please. I'm Sean Connors, plant manager at Watts Bar. And there are three key themes that Paul mentioned from the independent assessment: gaps in respect for work environment, leadership safety, value and actions, and gaps in effective safety communications. For the respectful work environment issues, we learned through our safety conscious monitoring panel and independent assessment that there are challenges across the site and improvement is needed to build mutual respect and demonstrate that we value our workforce input. We acknowledge that this is not just an operations department or for nuclear safety concerns only, but for all departments, for all workplace issues. We must continue to build trust and communicate to ensure our actions are sustained. We understand that we cannot differentiate between nuclear and non-nuclear safety issues. It is not enough to solely focus on nuclear safety concerns. To ensure our employees feel safe to bring up nuclear safety concerns, we also must foster an environment where they feel free to bring up any concerns of any nature without fear of retaliation. Some of the things that I've done is established a monthly job steward meeting to address concerns in the workforce that are emerging trends that the stewards are aware of that may not have surfaced yet. I've also been meeting with the senior reactor operators off-site. In fact, our next meeting is scheduled later this month.
Sean, one thing I have been able to see at some of the various meetings I've gone through is I've seen more solicitation from the people that are working in the field, such as the assistant unit operators, the reactor operators, as well as the SROs for input. Whenever we have an issue that arises, to get input from them, since they are the ones that are hands-on in the field, have more operating experience with the equipment we have. They'll help us bring solutions to the table so we can figure out what we need to do to go forward.
The maintenance director established a maintenance improvement team that meets regularly and is comprised of maintenance disciplines to discuss work environment issues and improvement opportunities in the maintenance department. We have modified our plant health committee walk-down process such that we form teams of non-licensed operators, maintenance craft personnel, and system engineers to own systems and walk them down with myself and the engineering director every week, and then discuss that system later the same day at our plant health committee meeting. The nuclear safety conscious monitoring panel attendance has increased and is now routinely attended by all levels across most disciplines in the site. The result is more feedback and a larger audience to discuss safety culture. We also just recently dedicated a Veterans Memorial and a new courtyard that was recommended by site personnel. It was a humble and somber dedication to our veterans and also a tribute to the teamwork that Watts Bar came to support. We have a lot more work to do, but these are a few of the items we've done to improve our work environment thus far. Please turn to page 9. The second theme of gaps in leadership, safety, values, and actions were identified and continue to acknowledge that senior management owns accountability for the chilled work environment letter. I would like to state that I and the senior team own the work environment. Licensed operators make decisions about maneuvering our plant. We will listen to input from anyone on our site, and no one will retaliate, discriminate, harass, or treat any member of our team in a less than respectful manner for raising any safety issue. Addressing and resolving issues in a timely manner through active engagement by site leadership. We created an operations shiftly nuclear safety culture report that the shift manager has the opportunity to discuss at turnover, highlighted condition reports that have been generated and resolved, operations burdens and non-licensed operator deficiencies, as well as an opportunity to discuss recent decisions made and the reasons why. We've also created daily corrective action reports for leaders to use to discuss condition reports that have been generated and resolved. The Performance Improvement Department has also conducted a corrective action program boot camp where they've discussed with each group how the corrective action program process works. The Work Management Department is setting up something similar to ensure that everyone knows and understands how the work management process functions, so that a thorough understanding of both processes will help site personnel understand how their concerns are being addressed. Senior leaders are accompanying non-licensed operators on rounds on a weekly basis and are scheduled to make control and observation time to enhance their visibility with the operating crews.
And the creation of this nuclear safety culture report Sean's talking about, it gives us the opportunity to talk to our folks about the various condition reports that have been generated by whether it's my operators or whether it's the craft to know what actions are being taken and what the fix will be for whatever the issue is. That's something that gives us good vision on what is happening with the issues that we have that we write up. So that has been a positive tool that I've seen.
Consistent behavior under stressful conditions and a wait-and-see attitude by the workforce. Although we have been in an outage environment for over a year with the Outage Control Center staff for Unit 2 testing and operations and other issues that affected Unit 1, many are waiting to see how the leadership team behaves during our refueling outage next spring. One recent example of positive leadership behaviors is during our recent May transformer outage for Unit 2, where the schedule was shortened by 18 hours. Instead of immediately prioritizing new critical paths to take advantage of the 18-hour time savings, the team realized that this was a potential stressor on the organization. They reinforced that we would follow the schedule and seek input before we would make decisions as to how to reprioritize the recovery. We ended up saving some time, but more importantly, the entire site was engaged in the process. However, this wait and see is completely understandable, and the burden is upon myself and the leadership's shoulders to ensure that we deliver. Please turn to page 10. The third theme in the gaps was effective safety communication. They're identified in engaging in more face-to-face communications with our site personnel. What we're doing to engage the site both horizontally and vertically is the senior leadership team is conducting a people health meeting. It's a new meeting where the directors will discuss all aspects of their personnel. Everything from staffing levels to development opportunities, so the entire team can challenge and offer input. Feedback they're getting from their personnel and compliments and concerns meeting is also discussed, so we can look for any actions we need to take, particularly if we see commonalities and feedback from several departments. Then we know it's an area that we need to address statewide. The superintendents have also formed a superintendent leaders group that consists of all superintendents to tackle workplace issues that their people are bringing up. The first line supervisors have expanded the first line supervisor advisory group and are committed to being in the field on a daily basis from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock. All leaders still attend our weekly leadership and alignment meeting, where we specifically discuss nuclear safety culture and how we are engaging our personnel, and every director is still conducting compliments and concern meetings with their department every month.
Something we've started doing in operations department is whenever we have a major decision that we've made with regards to moving the plant, or if we have an equipment challenge or anything that comes up, we'll put out what we call an operations communicator that writes up just what happened and the reason behind it or how we learned from it. That's something that I've been doing, put one out not too terribly long ago with regards to how we could read different indications from another location, because one indication needed to be recalibrated. So that's something that we've been using, and it's been able to give information spread to the various crews since we do work rotating shift work. It has been a helpful tool also.
As I discussed previously, I'm meeting regularly with the job stewards and licensed operators, and the maintenance director established a maintenance improvement team. The operations director has established focus groups with his department to discuss similar issues, and other directors are using similar methods to engage their departments as well. We need to ensure we communicate our message so that they are easily understood and readily accepted. And most importantly, we have to continue to communicate the whys behind our decisions. Please turn to page 11. Some of the areas of positive feedback we received during the assessment was that the workforce is willing to raise nuclear safety concerns. They believe that the management team will make the right decisions regarding nuclear safety, and ownership by the workplace remains strong. We understand that as much as we wanted to, we are not going to affect change overnight. As hard as we try, we understand it's going to take a long time and a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of hard work to rebuild the trust in all our employees. It's not easy, and honestly, it's painful. I believe that no one comes to work with the idea or thought of doing anything wrong. Somehow we got this wrong, and it's up to us to fix it. Nobody wants to be not trusted or disliked, especially from those that we spend the majority of our waking time with. The entire leadership team is working hard to regain that trust and understand that even though it's going to be slow going, and we may not see the results of the efforts immediately, we will continue to work hard until we have resolved this issue. And then we also understand that we'll continue to work just as hard to sustain it. Please turn to slide 11. Slide 12, I apologize. These are some of the items I discussed earlier and how we're engaging our workforce. We are also committed to demonstrating safety over production, not only for the workforce, but because it is the right thing to do. I've discussed the Maybank transformer restoration and the team's dedication to safety over production. But recently, the operations district director led a work stoppage due to a level 1 clearance error. He wasn't directed to do so, and in fact, the first time Paul and I heard about this decision was 5 minutes before our daily fleet video conference. The directors and entire team huddled up for 6 days of work stoppage at the site to understand why and what that they had to do to work together to make it safe for others. Collectively, the team came up with what they wanted to do to commit to each other and themselves on how they would proceed. Again, we understand that these examples cannot be the exception, but they must be something.
One thing that we got out of that as the operations group coming out of the work stoppage was we started getting one of our senior reactor operators out in the field, called the field support SRO, to get out in the field and put their eyes on what we're doing to make sure that we understand everything that's going on in the field, make sure that we're interacting with our folks. That seems to have a very positive impact, making sure we have the senior leadership on the shift communicating with the guys out in the field doing the actual work. So that's new. That is one of the products that came out of that work stop, and it does appear that it's had some good positive impact also.
Please turn to page 13. To ensure our actions are sustainable, we will conduct an independent nuclear safety culture survey at Watts Bar in the first quarter of calendar year 2017, and establish protocols for excellence plan development in response to that assessment. We will strengthen the ship manager role as a key component of site senior leadership. We'll develop an active mentor program for each ship manager, enhance our ship manager development program with several new candidates, have added the ship managers to senior leadership team offsites, meetings, and communication protocols. But we missed this one. I missed this one. What we do is irrelevant unless the ship managers actually feel like they are part of the senior leadership team. I've made a presumption based on my earlier experience at Watts Bar and then at Sequoia, that when I returned to Watts Bar as ops director and later as plant manager, that the ship managers felt like an integral member of the senior leadership team. I failed to recognize that with the turnover of ship managers, that relationship has to be built, has to be nurtured, and continued to foster. We've developed the Employees Concerns Program methods to predetermine stressors. We've used a heat map, which is a tool to identify stressors that, when compounded, could indicate a possible high aggregate of distractors for the site. This heat map is comprised of internal and external drivers, as well as dynamic indicators to show how many stressors are overlaid on top of each other. Some of the internal stressors are work schedules, operational schedules, pay benefits, organizational changes, and policy changes, to name a few. Some of the external stressors are regulatory issues, weather, and community influences. And some of the dynamic indicators are employee concern surveys, allegations, and anonymous condition reports. During our power session testing and the voluntary reduction in force, we use such a tool to identify stressors and work with the fleet executives and human resources to delay implementation of a new fleet discipline policy by several months, so the aggregate stressors were reduced when we implemented it this month. We will also conduct enhanced training for managing and communicating in the changing work environment, and continue to implement additional corrective actions from the chilled work environment root cause analysis. We understand our corrective actions will need to be modified as we progress and receive feedback from our personnel. Please turn to slide 14. We will continue to monitor the safety-conscious work environment and the nuclear safety culture through a supplemental effectiveness review of our root cause actions in December of this year, and we'll adjust our corrective actions based on the results. We'll continue with our enhanced nuclear safety culture monitor panel and senior executive management oversight. And we'll submit an updated chilled work environment letter response in December of this year also. In closing, I want to reiterate that I and the senior leadership team own the work environment at Watts Bar and are committed to listening to our employees to fix it. Thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Paul for some.
Thank you, Sean. A lot of work to do, and we recognize that. Sean and I and the rest of the senior leadership team of Watts Bar are committed to establishing the respectful work environment that Watts Bar deserves to be an excellent plan. We're going to continue to focus on improving our behaviors, our processes, our procedures, and we'll continue to engage the senior executive management oversight that we have in place to ensure that that takes place without deviation from the plan. And if so, then we'll come back together to make sure we're aligned, that we're doing the right thing for Watts Bar and the pursuit of our work environment that we want. We'll continue to be critical of our progress and create new actions and adjust those ongoing actions to ensure we achieve and sustain the respectful work environment that we're committed to. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mike Balduzzi for closing comments.
Thanks, Paul. So, we heard a lot of activities that we talked about today. But one thing that I'm hopeful that we were successful in being able to convey is the heartfelt professional as well as personal disappointment in ourselves for having created an environment where our workers would be reluctant to raise a concern for fear of retaliation. We remain committed to correcting this by earning their trust, not just by our words, but by our leadership behaviors. We'll continue to inform ourselves with regard to our progress by obtaining feedback from our workforce, as well as other sources such as our quality assurance staff and our employee concerns program staff. Our periodic executive oversight reviews that we conduct are focused on two basic elements. The first of which is the degree to which we know we're complying and meeting all the activities that we said we would do, so for thoroughness. And secondly, that those activities are resulting in improvements that we gauge based on our feedback from our workforce and other sources where we pulse for progress. Some of the benefits that we've gotten out of that, there were some very good initiatives that the site has evolved into for their nuclear safety culture monitoring panel that we were able to leverage and institutionalize for our application across our entire fleet. So we're deriving all the benefit we can out of those interactions. At this point, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to have this discussion tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much for the presentation.